Hello. This lecture presented by www.free-academy.com. We're going to be doing problems 9 and 10 of Chapter 3, Section 5 of Anton Calculus 7th edition on the chain rule. So we've already done a few practice problems already on the chain rule, and we're starting to get the hang of this, but we still want to be very, very clear about it to make sure that you guys are well prepared for your exams and your homeworks and just generally have a good knowledge of the chain rule. So like in the last two problems, we were given an f of x and we were given a function, but we weren't given a g of x at all. So we're going to choose a g of x in order to make solving these very, very simple. Now we want to find f prime of x for this whole function overall, but more specifically we want to find f prime of g of x. Now just to eliminate any confusion whatsoever, I'm going to rename this function here a of x. X to the third minus 7 over x to the negative 2. And then I'm going to do a little bit more renaming. I'm going to take these parentheses here to the negative square. I'm going to rewrite that as f of x equals x squared, or x to the negative 2. It's negative 2 power. Which for doing chain rule problems like this, I just like keeping the parentheses as a placeholder and not really worrying about the x's at all. Makes it a little bit more intuitive to put things in after the fact. Now we're also going to rename x to the third minus 7 over x as g of x. Now we have f of x and we have g of x. We'll find f prime of x and we'll find g prime of x. And then we can put everything into our formula here to find our derivative of a prime of x, derivative of a of x. So to find the derivative of f of x, we're just going to use our power rule. We'll bring the negative 2 in the front, and then we'll subtract 1 from the exponents. Now, some solid mathematicians, PhDs, so forth, might be yelling at me for using this placeholder here. So that's really equal to negative 2x to the negative third. But, like I said before, I just like keeping that there when we're going to be combining different functions. Now, to find g prime of x, we take the derivative of x to the third minus 7 over x. Well, the first part's easy, that's 3x squared. And the second part, we'll rewrite as 7x to the negative 1, so that way we can use the power rule on it again. And this will give us 7x to the negative 2. 3x squared plus 7x to the negative 2. So we have f prime of x, g of x, g prime of x, f prime, g of x, g prime in our chain rule formula here. Let's plug every single thing in and let's get our derivative for a of x. So our f prime of x will equal negative 2 parentheses to the negative 3. Our g of x we just have right here. It's x to the third minus 7 over x. And then it all gets multiplied by g prime of x, which we have right here, and is equal to 3x squared plus 7x to the negative 2. So that is our formula for the derivative of a of x, which is really the derivative of this f of x right up here. Now, let's go on to the next part of and do problem 10. Now, what I'm not going to do in problem 10 is I'm not going to rewrite our f of x as a of x, but I will rewrite this whole thing as x to the fifth minus x plus 1 to the negative 9th. And if you recall from the lecture on problem 7 and 8, I demonstrated for you that there is a pattern that the derivative of this f prime of x is going to be the derivative of the outside times the derivative of the inside. So what we'll do is we'll use the power rule on these parentheses here to bring the -9 to the front. And then we'll subtract 1 from the exponents, just like when we do the power rule normally. And we keep the x to the fifth minus x plus 1 inside the parentheses. But now we're going to multiply that by the derivative of what's inside the parentheses here. This will be 5x to the fourth minus 1. So we took the derivative of the outside and then multiplied the whole thing by the derivative of the inside the parentheses here. So that was the really quick way of doing these problems. It's the way I like doing it. But now, just to be thorough, let's do this problem just like I did problem 9. A of x equals x to the fifth minus x plus 1 to the -9th power. We'll rename f of x as equal to the parentheses to the -9th. Our g of x will be what's inside the parentheses, which is x to the fifth minus x plus 1. We'll need to find the derivative of f of x, which is going to be equal to -9 parentheses -10. And then the derivative of g of x is equal to 5x to the fourth minus 1. So we have g of x, f prime of x, g prime of x, everything we need to do our chain rule here. So let's plug our different values in and see what we get back out of it. The derivative of a of x is going to equal the f prime of x, which is -9 parentheses to the -10th. This will be multiplied by g prime of x, which is 5x to the fourth minus 1. And inside the parentheses we put g of x, which is still equal to x to the fifth minus x plus 1. And the most important part about all of these is that the answers are exactly the same, which we like. So the second part here is doing it the formal way. The first part here is doing it the quick way. Whichever works better in your head is what you should use. But with that being said, if you can get good at just recognizing what your f of x's and g of x's are and memorizing the chain rule formula, it's going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to make doing math a lot faster. So come back. We still have something like 30 more problems to solve.